Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director, here with my co-host, Mr. Tate Mathews. Tate, week one of football is in the books, and really to me the story of the week, besides maybe Destin Wade having 265 yards on about 2.5 carries, was the unbelievable atmosphere at Page High School in game day.
I'm still smiling because of it. I went home, couldn't stop laughing. Saturday, Sunday, it was amazing. They brought it. You challenged them. Dr. Hill challenged them. The numbers were a little concerning at about 5 o'clock, right? No, 6 o'clock.
At about 5:50, about 10 minutes away from the show starting.
They turned the intensity up. It was fantastic.
It was great. And, you know, Terry Flowers, our good friend out there who handles TV and film, you know, he was out there doing his thing. His crew was doing their thing. He said in his 22 years at Page, it's the best crowd he's seen.
I believe it. I'd like to see the one before.
And give us some highlights, Tate, of why you thought it was so great.
Well, are we doing it now, or are we going to do it?
Let's just, we may as well do it now.
Well, first of all, the doctor, the drone man, the doctor of drones, he comes walking on about, 5:45. He's got his
about the time the Page students came in.
About the time the Page students came in. He's got his Bring You Juice shirt on, and boy, he brought his juice for sure. But Braden Whitman, let me leave you with a name. Braden Whitman. He is the mascot. He is the official Page Patriot mascot for the Page High School Patriot Nation. Is that what they call their students?
Country.
Patriot Country. That guy, I don't know if there is someone out there that's doing recruiting for college mascots. That guy is the best of the best, man. He flat brought it. He was unbelievable. Yes, did he almost cross the line a couple times? Possibly. But, I mean, everything from he kept him juiced. He's up on stage. He about broke the trophy. Do you remember Rhino, the wrestler, Bill Goldberg, the spear? He speared some kid, form tackle, to the point where if it was me and if I was Coach Rathbone, I'd be trying to get him out for linebacker. There was water bottles being squirted. I mean, it was did he take Dr. Jones' hat off?
He did.
He assaulted the opposing principal. I don't think that's ever happened before.
Which is where it almost got a little out. And then, if I'm not mistaken, there was a mascot on mascot wrestling
crime
out on the field. So, yeah.
He had to take his hat off a couple times because he kept overheating, but he kept coming back, man. He left it. Hey, you've heard the saying, he left it all on the field. Braden Whitman left it all on the field.
He really did. And kudos to Katie Hill,
yes.
Dr. Hill, the principal out there. She had them juiced up, ready to go. And then when the picks came around, she didn't play that. I'm going with the Williamson County School deal.
You're going to have to watch it to see, but at one point, she made a pick, and Dr. Jones said, man, I can't wait for the next principal's meeting. I'll just tease you with that.
It was fantastic. Well, we'll get back to that Battle of 840, which was, again, a great atmosphere here in just a bit. But let's talk about some of our other fall sports to start off. Nolensville volleyball, maybe one of the stories of the week. They go 4-0 to start the year. They defeat Siegel, big 5-set win over Siegel. And I think what makes that win even more impressive, Brentwood loses in 5 sets to Siegel, although let's don't get too overly excited.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, Brentwood lost to Siegel during the year last year. Then in the state championship, if you blinked, you missed it with that big win over Siegel. But still, I think it's big for Coach Young and Nolensville.
Yeah, it is. It's very big for them, and because you hear the whispers, right? Oh, can they really compete in AAA? Can they really compete when they go in there with the big boys or big girls every week in, week out, right? And here they are. They're off to a 4-0 start. They knock off Siegel, who was probably considered the number one team in the state, probably. How deflating is that for you if you're Siegel? You think, man, we're over the hump. We just knocked off Brentwood. Oh, gosh. And then we get beat by – there's another one.
Back to reality is what I call that.
That's right. Not so fast, my friend.
Nolensville also with a big win over Summit during the week. Ravenwood also with the win over Summit. Soccer, We had a big event. I thought it was I like the name of it too. Meet Me in the Middle Classic at Siegel, out at the complex where the state championship takes place. We had Centennial, Brentwood, Franklin, Indy, Nolensville, Ravenwood all represented. And I liked how they did this. They set it up in pool play, and you could win your pool, and then that was pretty much the end of it. But they put the teams in groups against really similar teams. Ravenwood and Brentwood varsities won their pool during the weekend. But a great event. Also during the week, Nolensville with a big 3-0 win over a much improved, and they keep improving, Centennial team. And listen, I always like to use examples of how soccer's strong. Centennial, I think most would say, if you look in WCS, they're not the top 2, maybe not top 3, maybe top 4 or 5. They played Beach. Beach got a pretty good soccer program. 6-1.
Yeah. That's a boat race in soccer.
6-1. Give me an equivalent in football. What would that? 6-1 in soccer is like what in football?
35-0, running clock.
50-13.
Yeah, popcorn.
You know,
it's like Summit Henry County.
50-13. Anyway, golf. Listen.
By the way, I can't wait to get to that. But go ahead.
Franklin, boys and girls in golf, they are rolling right now.
Told you, man. Coach Whipple, baby.
Listen, they've got a shot, I think, boys and girls. They get big wins over Nolensville and Centennial. Brentwood boys with the win over Indy during the week. Indy girls defeat Brentwood. And then the Summit boys, just to show you how strong that golf is getting. It's always been strong. But Summit beats Independence 153, low score wins, to 162. It's the best boys team score in the history of that school.
That is digging deep.
Maybe that should have been the gym.
That could have been one. Yeah, or there could have been 2. It could have been the golf gym.
I mean, that's pretty strong. So if you think about that, if you average, what is that, averaging 37-ish a player? Am I thinking right? Am I doing my math in my head right? 37 would be 74 times 2, 148.
Impressive.
Yeah, so 38-ish, I guess, 38, 39. So, again, very impressive for Summit, 153 in that win over Summit. Over Indy. Now, to maybe bring it back to earth a little bit, Franklin had a match where they had 144.
Wow.
Which our man Stormy Mitchell, I noticed he chimed in because he always talks about being a great golfer, and I'm sure he was, but have you heard him talk about his golf game?
Negative.
But never seen him play, so. Stormy, if you're out there watching.
I'm gonna need some proof of this. He might have had a good score at the Skyview Country Club. What are we talking about here?
Okay, let's go into our Game 1 recap. Let's start with the WCTV Game of the Week, Battle of 840, Fairview 20, page 28. The big story in this game, Tate, Collin Hurrell of Page High School. What did he not do? He takes over at quarterback late in the second quarter. He's the leading tackler. He has an interception, and he's responsible for 3 touchdowns. It was Brady Pierce-esque, that performance. Maybe even one-upped him a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, man, he's in the conversation now, right? And there was just so many cool things about it, but and really in about a half of football, he did all. I mean, not the tackling, but the offensive stats, right? I mean, he didn't come in until the second quarter, and that's amazing. And I'm pretty sure I saw. I don't know if you noticed, because that changes things up, right? Yeah, they gave him some snaps, but they didn't plan on. They didn't spend a whole lot of time on this. Would be my guess. Were they having to run him back and forth to the sideline to get the play, or did I just?
No.
Okay.
No.
They were still getting it in.
No, they were getting it in okay.
I thought I saw him go over, but maybe that was a timeout or something. But yeah, it's unbelievable, man. I mean, to go out there, talk about confidence, poise, and to go out there and do that, and you win 28-20. So you don't do that without the way he played, and to be the leading tackler and throw for 3 touchdowns. That's like 1980 single A football type stuff right there, man. That just doesn't happen anymore. Very cool.
I agree. Jake McNamara, the Colorado State commit, and he was 8 for 11 with 108 yards, a touchdown pass to Max Collins. And speaking of Colorado State, Tate, Do you know who the current head coach is? And who,
I do.
And who it's not?
It is not Mike Bobo. It is Steve Adazio. Mike Bobo actually was terminated in 2019 for going 28-35 over 5 years. Mike Bobo is now currently the offensive coordinator on the Plains of the Auburn Tigers.
And why is that such breaking news here on WCTV Sports Connection?
Well, in game day, there was some reference to Mike Bobo endorsed, Mike Bobo improved, Mike Bobo top quarterbacks of 2021 list, which was all fine and dandy. But I think the point was that he was at Colorado State, and you and I just didn't want that being associated with us. We know that Steve Adazio is the head coach of Colorado State, which is where our man Jake McNamara is.
I'm glad we could clear that up. Hey, speaking of Collin Hurrell and touchdown passes, let's take a look at this week's WCTV Play of the Week.
Hurd rollout across the middle of the field, got a man open, and it's going to be a foot race. Is he going to take it to the house? Absolutely. 89 yards. Hurd to Boy Smith. And the Patriots may have put a nail in the coffin. As we see right here, Hurd basically almost from the end zone hits Boyce in stride. Boy Smith is going to outrun the Fairview defense, the secondary, and probably his number one concern is, are there any flags on the field?
Man, what a great play. And then, as we talked about, Collin Hurrell, okay, the backup quarterback comes in. What a great read. He looks, he's got trips over here. The entire middle of the field is open. There's capped and uncapped. That was about as uncapped of a middle of the field as you can see. And what a great read. I'm guessing, I would like to know, but his progressions. But when he saw Boy Smith had the inside on that guy, he knew where he was going with it. And it was just putting the ball over that linebacker and off to the races.
Well, and you alluded to this earlier. You get the sense by watching Collin. I mean, if you just showed up and watched that game, you wouldn't look out there in the third quarter and go, oh, this is a guy who's not been playing quarterback.
No.
I mean, he very much looked like a young man in control.
Well, and he is. Coach Rathbone said it. He said he'd start most places. He just happens to be at a school where Jake McNamara is. And also Collin can go do other things too. So, when you got two quarterbacks, I'm a big believer in you get your best 11 on the field, right? And we talked about it last week. It doesn't do you any good to have either one of those guys sitting over on the sideline. But yeah, great throw. Great route by Boy Smith, no doubt about it. Kind of got the guy turned a little bit and then came inside of him and took off to the races. And what a great job on the call by our man PB Paul Brees.
As always.
Always enthusiastic.
So that made it 28-13 after Fairview being down 14-0. They had fought back to 14-13. Kennedy Pendergrast on a 15-yard TD pass to Morgan Jean to end the half, 15-yard pass. Jacob Clevenger comes out and scores a touchdown in the third quarter to cut it to 14-13. A blocked extra point we talked about in this game. Always special teams seems to be a factor. But then that touchdown pass actually made it 28-13. Fairview scores on another Clevenger touchdown to make it 28-20, but Page was able to run out the clock. But great atmosphere. Battle of 840, always a hard-fought game.
Never disappoints.
Never.
Hey, and then we'll get off game day. To the rest of the WCS,
You better step up.
you better bring it, or that will be the best one of the year. I've pumped up the Raptor Nation a lot through the years. If you don't bring it, it will not top that.
It was rowdy. Brentwood, 35 at Blackman, 38. The debut of head coach Clint Finch. They were down 32-16 in the third quarter. They battled back. They took the lead at 35-32. But ultimately, even though these are real numbers.
Yes.
Scott Collins, 247 yards on 25 carries, 4 touchdowns. But ultimately, the difference, 5 Brentwood turnovers.
That's it.
What else can we say?
You can't do it in 6A football. A lot of positives to take from it. You were down 32-16 in the third quarter. You battle back, take a 32 lead, and they really did that in about less than a quarter.
Sure. Yeah.
So it goes to show the flashes, but you can't do that. Can't do it.
Davis White, big game too.
Big game, and we knew that. And I'd like to know how much they tried to take away from him. But I think we talked about it. Scott Collins, tough, durable, smart, really good running back. And now we thought we'd have a big game. I didn't know he was going to have 247 yards, but he's a dependable guy who can. He kind of gets lost a little bit behind the offensive line, and then next thing you know it, he's already on you. But yeah, 5 turnovers. That's all you need to know. And I hate it because, I told you, Coach Finn, they were going to score points. So that's a tough loss, but all you can do is learn from it.
And they will.
Yes.
They definitely will. Centennial, this is one that I think brings a smile to everyone's face because we know the struggle Centennial's had. We know how hard Coach Kreisky and that staff works. I'm telling you, you can see them turning the corner. Oh, Captain, my Captain. I said it during media day. And here's what's interesting. I'm hearing that Coach Kreisky was a little bit offended that I said they would have a chance to make the playoffs. He was like, that. I think they're taking everything that's out there and they get this serious chip, which I think is great.
Yes.
Forsey, our man Josh Forsey, who had a great game. I know his parents are out there watching. We appreciate you for doing that. Forsey even said, hey, coming into this, we were considered the laughing stocks. We wanted to show, I'm like, dang, man, these guys are bringing the chip hard.
Yes.
And they absolutely blow out Overton 40-0.
40-0. Coach Kreisky, like his old days on Kentucky Lake out in Paris, he was on the 40-foot Donzi, man. All summer long, was cranking. His man Josh Forsey was his first mate. This was a boat race, popcorn city, all rolled up into one. I'm so happy. Hey, 11, what was it? They ran the ball 11 straight times, okay? 11 straight times on the opening drive. It was an 8-minute opening drive, 9-minute opening drive, something like that. And talk about taking somebody's will, letting them know what the rest of the game's going to be like. Forsey carries it 10 straight times and then comes out. And Coach Kreisky said he got mad at him. He took him out 10 straight times. And he took him out because he thought he was gassed. And Josh was mad on the sideline. Coach, why'd you take me out? You're tired. I'm not tired. Put me back in. What a great way to start it. The offensive line setting the tone. It was just it's something that I think was really, really needed over there, man. Go out there, play fun, have fun, play free. They did it, and you're right. They got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and it's not going anywhere.
No, I don't think so either. Great way to break in the new turf, as we talked about. And by the way, just to show you, we're in mid-season form already. You actually stole, which is okay, this week's gym. And the gym, no, it's good. And listen, it just shows you, it's simpatico, right? Forsey, they ran the ball 11 times like you talked about. Or he ran it 11 times on that drive. He ran the ball 11 times on that drive, 10 straight.
10 straight.
And then they give it to Tanner Lee for the score. Like you said, Forsey's like, come on, Coach, I've been doing some heavy lifting. Although, listen, Josh, great game, 221 yards, 22 carries, 3 touchdowns. And here's something else. I thought a couple of things that made me say, okay, you look at Cannon Plowman. Cannon plays great, right? They needed him last year to be just littering the stat sheet to do anything. Well, he had a good game, right? He scored on a 7-yard touchdown run. I think he had 50-something yards maybe. But look at all these other names that are showing up. Guys like Kanai Johnson, a freshman.
That's
This
right.
is tough to do in football. A freshman. He forces a fumble, and then Forsey scores 4 plays later. That's on possession number 2. So lots of reasons to be happy. Brendan Jones, 7 of 10 at quarterback for 111 yards. I love it.
And what is 7 for 10 since you were showing off?
70%.
There you go. You can win some games going 7 for 10.
No doubt about it.
Didn't make mistakes. Didn't make them. And Cannon did. He made a couple of big catches, and of course you've got to keep those guys honest when you're running the ball like that. Kofi Boggs made a few plays. He's a guy. Remember,
Sophomore.
He's going to be a heck of a player. So, but offensive line, I don't know what obviously Josh, 221 yards on 22 carries and 3 touchdowns, but they had to have given game balls because that offensive line, man, and we talked about it. They're a year older. They're not puppies anymore, and they flat got after it. I love it. Big time win.
Next few games, we're not going to spend a ton of time on them because they didn't result in.
Go our way.
They weren't good results for WCS. Franklin and the debut of Coach Alex Melton, we knew it was going to be tough. They go to Riverdale, they lose 37-0. 5 turnovers and only 6 first downs. Not going to get it done doing that. Jake Dunn was a leading ball carrier with only 28 yards. And one that really stood out to me, 0 for 4 in the passing game. It's going to be tough playing like that. Again, we knew it was going to be tough anyway, but it couldn't be. It was definitely couldn't be a game that they had 5 turnovers.
Can't do that. Not against Riverdale, and probably couldn't have had 2 turnovers against Riverdale, much less 5. But if there's any comfort in that, Riverdale is one of the best defenses in the state, and probably maybe the best in the mid-state. I don't know. They're really good. But there you go. You can't do that, and Coach Melton's already talked to them about it. They got to figure out who they are. Not only did you lose all of the firepower that we talked about from last year, you lost your offensive coordinator, new head coach, new offensive coordinator. Everything's new. So they got to figure out who they are, but while they're doing it, they got to secure the football.
Likes those young players too.
Oh, yes.
In the program.
Yes.
Clay Crowder leads Franklin with 4 tackles. Rylan Schroeder with an interception. Independence, this one surprised me. It really did in terms of, I mean, it would be a great game, but in terms of the difference, Independence, they're up early 14-7 on CPA. CPA scores 41 straight. They lose 48-21 at home in a game that wasn't played 2 years ago. We talked about that. Joseph Cummings was 11 of 23 for 194 yards, 2 interceptions. A touchdown pass of 92 yards to Jake Rummel. Trey Hartwell, 15 carries for 72 yards. And I think maybe the bright spot of the night. Late in the game, they put in the young, lanky, sophomore quarterback, Cody Pagich. And I hope I'm saying that right, Cody. He's 4 for 4 on that drive. 42 yards and a touchdown to Ohio State commit Ty Lockwood. So that was a bright spot, I thought, for Indy on that night.
It was, and he did a great job. He went out there and did exactly what he was supposed to do. They've got a lot of high hopes for him because he's got a lot of talent, and they know he's going to be a really good player. But that was not the same defense. He did what he was supposed to do. To be fair to Mr. Cummings, that was not the same defense
Absolutely.
that Joseph had faced during the game. And let me tell you something, there were some bright spots. That touchdown pass to Rummel, that was a great pass, great route, great run. That was, and so that just showed, everybody talks about River, everybody talks about Lockwood. Rummel is a deep threat who can beat you. And then I was really impressed. You'll see as the year goes on, that CPA defense is really good. It's really physical. They've got some really good running backs. Let me tell you something. Mr. Hartwell runs the ball very, very hard. I now know what they're talking about. You better bring your lunch pail if you're going to hit him when he comes up through the hole because he's bringing a load. There were some loud collisions between him and Langston Patterson. So it got away from him, and the way Independence plays offensively, when those kind of things start happening, they can go on a run pretty quick like that. But again, they were up 14-7 in the second quarter.
As you said, got away from them fairly quickly. Coach Blade and Independence, they'll get the ship righted. I mean, and ultimately, these don't matter. They're not league games. They matter, but
that's right.
Not like the ones later.
And on the Cody thing, now you know. You thought, now you know. You've got 2 quarterbacks. And my guess is you'll see them both.
Nolensville, 32-42 loss against BGA. A lot of offense. Samson Johnson, your man, scores a couple of TDs. He scores one late in the third that puts Nolensville up 25-21. They had fought all the way back from being down 21-7. 21 unanswered points after that from BGA. Again, Johnson, a bright spot, 48 rushing yards, 76 receiving. How about Kobe Walton, too? Quarterback, 18 for 21, 291 yards, 2 touchdowns, both to Ben Coggin. Big night for him, too. They've got him a quarterback.
They got him a quarterback. Coach Derrick knows they got him a quarterback. 2 touchdowns. One of them was to Chance. I think maybe was the other one to, were they both to Ben?
Both to Ben.
Okay. I think by the looks of it, BGA's game plan was to keep Mr. Johnson from beating him. And then what does he do? He still gets 2 touchdowns.
And 76 receiving yards.
Yep,
Which I thought was smart by the Nolensville staff to get him the ball.
No doubt about it. Find ways to get it to him. And you see a lot of tailbacks that are really good tailbacks that don't catch the ball well. Obviously, Sampson does. But Kobe, great game at the quarterback position. First year it's his team, and you got to be very impressed with that performance. I was surprised that Nolensville gave up that many rushing yards. I don't think anybody expected BGA to come in and rush the ball like that on them.
Especially at Nolensville. Ravenwood 28, MBA 56. This game was moved to MBA. Had some weather issues last week, so the turf got delayed for game 1 for Ravenwood. It'll be ready, though. It'll be ready for the game against Franklin, which will be in week 3. It'll be the first region game. Also spoiled the return of Coach Will Hester to Ravenwood. Listen, Ravenwood had some pieces missing. Coach Hester would tell you, though, probably wouldn't have mattered the way they got dominated up front. But again, 6 turnovers. You can't have 6 turnovers and expect to win.
No. And if I'd have told you at the beginning of the week that Brentwood was going to have 5 and Franklin was going to have 6 and Ravenwood was going to, I wouldn't have guessed that from any of them, So don't know what that was all about, but you can't do it. You can't do it against a decent program, especially not NBA. A lot of bright spots, I know that there's a bad taste in their mouth. That's not what they wanted, but you still scored 28 points. They scored on their 3rd offensive play, a great pass from Parson to one of the wide receivers over on the right side. I mean, you saw the flashes, right? You know what's there. But you're exactly right. That's what Coach Hester said. Yeah, we had some guys out on defense, but it did not change what NBA lined up and mashed them up front. And it's something that I guarantee you they will start working on getting better at this week.
Chris Parson, as you mentioned, 3 touchdowns, 302 yards. The 2 interceptions were costly. Had a touchdown pass to Kason Edmondson, 2 to Blake Irvin. Carter Pace also with a 73-yard rushing touchdown that cut the lead to 21-14 in the second quarter, but then 21 straight points by NBA. I thought it was pretty interesting. And it might be Blake talking like the coach.
Right.
But I thought it was real interesting, a comment I saw from Blake Irvin after the game. He said we were overconfident. We came in this game overconfident. Maybe a message from Coach Hester after the game, not sure, but I like the way the young man was talking.
Yep. He's a leader, calling it like it was. And that can happen. Everybody was, it wasn't like they weren't getting a whole lot of media attention going to this game. But here's the great thing. That game don't count. I mean, it does for pride, but that game don't count. It has nothing to do with playoff standings.
We'll fast forward a few weeks and be over that one, I'm sure.
That's right.
Summit, speaking of breaking in new turf, they had new turf out there at Henry County. They had the horns and the bells and the whistles all ready to go. 50-13, Summit over Henry. Destin Wade, 265 yards on 6 carries, which doesn't even seem possible. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, all of which were 75 yards or more. When I watched some of the highlights, I was thinking like Bo Jackson and Tecmo Bowl.
Yes.
He's running. Come on,
Student
man.
body right.
And listen, I hate to mention this. I know we talked about game day and picks and all this kind of stuff. Not only did you pick Henry last week,
Yeah.
Mr. Mathews, but it was a blowout the other way. And Coach Coleman now, I think he's claiming they used maybe that is a little motivation for his
Well, I'm
team.
glad I could be of service. I'm glad I could be of service. And, it wasn't a thing of disrespect, but I got to get something off my chest. Here.
Uh-oh, here we go. Let's go.
Hey, I'm a huge Coach Coleman fan. I'm a huge Destin Wade fan. This is what I don't understand. After the 75-yarder, okay, after the 80-yarder, don't you think you'd have said, hey, boys, time out. I want 3 spies on him. I don't care if I had to take all 3 linebackers and said, I don't give a rip what you see. Wherever number 1 goes, I want all 3 of you going with him. I dang sure wouldn't have turned around and let him get the 98-yarder. Hey, boys, we might need to know where number 1 is. Good, right? There had to have been a game in your coaching career where you said, "Whoop, all right, here's the deal. Come over here. We might lose this game, but we ain't going to lose because that guy's going to score 57 on us and just keep – I mean, stunned. But that being said, 6 carries, 240-something yards.
65.
265. He had a 44.2 yard per carry average.
A lot of math this week. I like this.
He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. We already knew that, but what a player he is. Summit. You want to talk about and now this is a program that prides themselves on being physical. We're physical when you come over here. Oh yeah, wait till you come get smacked in the mouth. Talk about getting smacked in the mouth. 403 yards on the ground.
Yeah, that's
getting punched right in the mouth. Coach Coleman, my hat's off to you. I'm sure Saturday or Sunday you were on the Duck River on your tracker boat with your boat captain hat on, brother.
Brady Pierce, a rushing and receiving touchdown. John Dippold, an interception for a touchdown. Again, total domination. All right, Tate. I know we had a lot to talk about this week. Let's talk a little bit about pick'ems. And listen, it's early. Just like the WCS teams are going to get this thing turned around, I'm sure you will too. Last week's results, the fans were 3-5.
Oh my goodness.
Mr. Mathews, you were 3-5. I think you only lost 20 all of last year, so I know you'll get it turned around. And then Dr. Qualls and myself, we were both 4-4. So I know it hurts to be 3-5, but really more importantly, to ever be behind Dr. Qualls on the standings has to hurt a little bit.
Well, you know, even Mike Bobo makes a good play call every once in a while, but I plan on being back. Hey, it's like pro wrestling. Sometimes you got to serve a role. I felt Summit needed a little something. They'd been hearing how good they were, and you know, I played the role. I was the villain. I was the heel. Got it turned up. I knew it was all part of my master plan. I knew all along what was going to happen, and I was willing to take one for the team. But that being said, I'm back.
So, fans, keep voting out there on Twitter, WCSCO Athletics. So here we go, Tate. We're going to start with you. Brentwood, 0-1, taking on a Father Ryan team that's 1-0, who had a win 35-6 last week over East Nashville. Who's coming out on top, Tate? Brentwood versus Father Ryan.
I think Brentwood's still trying to figure out their offensive identity, even though my man Scott Collins went off. I think he has another big game. Father Ryan's gotten better. Coach Rector's there. He's been there about, 5-6 years now. They've been bringing him in on the buses like everybody else. So I hate it, but I think I'm going to go with the Irish.
I'm going to go Brentwood. So that's good. It's good when we pick
this
different.
Is good.
Game 2, I think we're both going to agree on this. Centennial travels to Lincoln County, a Lincoln County team who got beat 51-8 against Giles County. Nice job going for 2, by the way. I don't know at what point of the game that was, but this isn't going to be close.
You think that was one of those, like, we don't quit, we're not going to go for 2? Okay. Hey.
I'm going Centennial.
The pit. Coming down to the pit. Well, guess what? We're coming down to the pit, and we're getting our second boat race in a row. The Cougars. Coach Kreisky's going to take them to 2-0.
Tate, your turn. Fairview 0-1 versus a Creekwood team that's 1-0 and had a win over Dixon County last week. Who you got in this one, Tate?
Man, I don't know very much about Creekwood. I know Fairview's banged up. So this is a tough one, but I think Fairview gets Coach Hughes has got, he got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder after what happened last week. The Yellow Jackets, but I think it's close.
I agree. This one, the WCTV game of the week, I think it's a tough one to pick. Franklin at home versus Page. Franklin versus Page. Franklin 0-1, Page 1-0. Let me tell you how I made my decision on this one. Last year, a pretty dominant Franklin team, if you're saying compared to what Page had, right? Page was young.
Yes.
Franklin had to win that game at the end. It was 17-14. Because of that, and because I think Page, they've got that two-headed monster at quarterback. If McNamara can't play, I'm going with Page in this one.
I think you're right. I think Franklin's still got some things to figure out. Page knows what they're about. Big win. They're confident. And I'm with you. I'm going to go with the Patriots. Independence,
Tate, at Lipscomb Academy, a Lipscomb Academy team that defeated Greater Atlanta Christian 76-7. Hey, listen, the Greater Atlanta Christian claim to fame here. They were the #1 selling magazine sales school in the nation with QSP back in the day.
Congrats.
My group at Beach, we were in the top 3 or 4, but we just couldn't overcome Greater Atlanta Christian.
You're going to love this. So we've got the city dump, we've got the county dump, we've got the country dump, and now we've got the Fulton County dump. Thanks for coming up. I guess what we're saying is don't let that score fool you. That wasn't, that wasn't Jacksonville Bowls coming to town.
I understand.
That being said, go ahead. Who's up?
No, who you got? Independence, it's your pick. I know if you pick the way I think you're going to pick, you're going to hate to do it, but go ahead.
Oh, this is almost like pulling a tooth out. Independence struggled a little bit with pass defense. Lipscomb can pass the ball. I'm going with the David Lipscomb Campus School.
I can't do it.
I can't.
Good. I don't care if I take a loss. I'm picking Indy. I'm going with Independence, and I will say this, because you've seen Indy do it in the past. You'll see them have a game.
They always get better.
They always get better. I'm going Indy.
Always. I hope you're right.
I hope I am too. Our next game, I think we'll agree on this one too. Nolensville at Giles County. Who you got, Tate?
I think David O'Connor is one of the best coaches in the mid-state. I don't think he gets enough credit. But I don't think there's any way Independent. So I think this is going to be a tough football game. Tough. But I think Coach Derrick was very disappointed in the defensive performance. I think he gets it fixed. Nolensville wins, but it's a tight one.
I agree. Nolensville. Ravenwood BGA. Again, Ravenwood coming off that loss to MBA. BGA with the win over Nolensville. Who do you have in this one, Tate? Ravenwood, BGA.
BGA's physical. They're better, but they're not as physical as MBA. I don't think that, I think this BGA team's improved. That wasn't a fluke over Nolensville. I mean, they went out there and did some really good stuff. Ravenwood gets back on the winning track.
I think Ravenwood by double digits. And the last one, which I think we're both going to agree on, Summit is going to absolutely roll Spring Hill. And I'm going to add another prediction. I'm going to guess that Spring Hill won't be playing Summit anymore after this year. I know it's the battle of Spring Hill, but there's going to be this, oh, sorry, we couldn't work it out in our schedule, because it's going to be an absolute blowout.
Well, it's a 2-year contract. This is year one.
Last year, they played last year. Oh, it was.
Yeah, they just signed a 2-year.
Okay, excuse me.
So they got one more of them coming, and then I think you're 100% right. Coach, I'm embarrassed to tell you this. My principal won't let me play y'all. Not only is this a boat race, is this popcorn. Coach Coleman is going to be headset off, eating popcorn, talking to Mrs. Lamb and Chad Kirby in the third quarter. I mean,
it's going to take that long.
Destin Wade will have his dang. No matter what it is, you can't get to the running clock until the third quarter.
Sure.
Destin will have his shoulder pads off. Yeah.
Talking to Mark Stoops. Ian Keaton will be talking to Mark Stoops.
The puppy dogs. This might be Destin Wade, 3 rushes for 120 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1-for-1 passing. Like, they're not. If you want to see the Wade's boys play Friday night, you better get there in the first quarter.
Hey, and unlike last year, all the voters out there for Mr. Football, if we get to that, don't hold it against my man Destin, because he's playing like 2 quarters.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
All right, Tate.
Who do you have?
Summit.
It's a job.
Great job this week, Tate. Can't wait to talk about the games next week.
Hey, it was awesome. And let me tell you something. I got to see the crowd at Fairview and Page, and I got to see the crowds at Independent CPA. Mary Beth White was grinning ear to ear, and it was because I don't know what the gate was, but it was a lot of money. They made a lot of money from it. It was great to see those crowds. Keep it up, man.
I agree. Thank you for joining us for Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.